بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، صلى الله وسلم وبارك على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. With the grace of Allah, the army that went on the battle of Mu'tah came back to Medina after a battle that was almost certain to kill all of the 3,000 men. Being faced with an enemy army of 200,000 troops, yet with the grace of Allah, they only lost 13 men as martyrs, insha'Allah. They've inflicted a large number of casualties in the enemy army. And this was considered to be a victory to the Muslims, because managing to escape with only 13 casualties meant that this was indeed a victory.
And I can imagine now, like if the police around Medina, they hear about a battle between 200,000 and the Muslim army, and then they hear that the Muslim army came back with only 13 people died. It's like, massive lesson, isn't it? Like, it's a lesson which, I don't know, maybe?
Of course, this had its impact over Arabia, because this was unimaginable. You cannot simply escape 200,000 men with such low fatalities. This was not possible in normal terms.
I believe because as well the police, they didn't know exactly about the amount of the Muslim army, especially after Khalid ibn al-Walid, may Allah be pleased with him, changing the faces and these things. I believe that maybe the only thing which they heard about the Muslim army had a battle against 200,000 and they came back safely, like nothing happened, just they lost 13 people.
I believe that the number was well known to the tribes, because on their way back they had to pass by tribes, and people would estimate their number through judging the amount of camels they slaughter. And Arabs have their own ways of estimating the number of people passing by. But the best thing was that, imagine this victory they had, yet when they went into Medina, they were met by the people of Medina, not congratulating them on this victory. On the contrary, they used to throw sand and dust in their faces, angry with them, telling them, you've escaped the battle in the sight of Allah, you came back safe. Imagine the feelings that the women, the children, and those who were in Medina had. They considered this to be a defeat. And they considered them coming back as running away from battle. So they were throwing the sands in their faces and calling them Ya Furrar, you who had escaped. And the Prophet ﷺ would say to them, no, they did not escape. They will retaliate, insha'Allah, soon. So the Prophet ﷺ comforted both parties, and at the same time, he gave them the glad tidings that the 13 men who died in the battle of Mu'tah, they would not, at the moment, they do not wish that they were among you. Because what they found at the side of Allah, the blessing, the paradise, the heavens, is far greater than what you are enjoying at the moment. So it was revealed to the Prophet ﷺ that tell your people that those who died in the Battle of Mu'tah are happy where they are, and they would not be pleased to be with their family and their loved ones at the moment. After the Battle of Mu'tah, the tribes around Medina may have second thoughts about what was going on, and especially the tribe of Quda'a, as they themselves aided the Byzantine army. They were up north. So the Prophet ﷺ thought of teaching them a lesson, and at the same time he thought of teaching the tribes around them a lesson for what they had done. So immediately afterwards he sent an army in what is known to be Ghazwat That al-Salasil. And he had Amr ibn al-As as the leader of this detachment. It was a military expedition of 300 men, Ansar and Muhajirin. And they went. After they traveled for a few days, they came to know that the tribe of Quda'a is gathering an army to raid Medina. And they heard about the coming of this army, so they're gathering more tribes to attack the army. Amr ibn al-As, may Allah be pleased with him, evaluated the situation and thought that the 300 men with him were not sufficient. So he sent to the Prophet ﷺ for reinforcement, and he set camp. And the Prophet ﷺ immediately sent an additional 200 men led by Abu Ubaidah Amir ibn al-Jarrah as reinforcement. And in this army of reinforcement were Abu Bakr and Umar, may Allah be pleased with them. The minute the army was full and joined together, Abu Ubaidah Amr ibn al-Jarrah, he was supposed to lead, as he is the higher commanding officer. Yet Amr ibn al-As did not agree to that, and he told him that I am the leader of the original army and you came as reinforcement. And it wasn't a struggle of power, but it was difference in opinion.
Yeah.
Now remember that Abu Bakr and Umar were in the army, yet they let the leadership to Abu Ubaidah and to Amr ibn al-As. Abu Ubaidah Amr ibn Jarrah, being a companion of the Prophet ﷺ and a leader himself, agreed to what Amr said, and he gave him the leadership. And from there, Amr and his army went around the areas, and the army that was about to form and attack Medina was dispersed, and they all went in different sides of Arabia, running for their lives. In that expedition, we learn that it is permissible for someone who is below others to lead them. Because Amr ibn al-As, by the consensus of all scholars, was far below in status from Abu Bakr, Umar, and also Abu Ubaidah Amr ibn Jarrah. Yet this did not degrade these great companions, because they were led by someone who they were far superior to. They were following orders. And this is also another thing that Muslims should follow. We should follow the chain of command. And this is an Islamic aspect. Without following the chain of command, unfortunately, things go into chaos and mayhem. Because if everyone decides to be an officer, there won't be any soldiers. Yeah. And like they say, all chiefs and no Indians. And this is not acceptable in Islam. If Allah Azza wa Jal appoints someone to be the leader, we all have to obey him. And that is why the Prophet ﷺ once said in an authentic hadith, whoever obeys me, obeys Allah. And whoever obeys my Amir, my leader, the one that I appoint to lead, is obeying me.
And based in Quran as well, Allah, the Most Almighty, is telling His Prophet ﷺ in Quran, Prophet ﷺ, tell them, if you do love Allah, so then follow me. Allah loves you. So it's an order from Allah Himself that we have to follow the Prophet's orders.
Yes, this is beyond questioning. But now we're talking about obeying the rulers and the leaders. And it's something different. There's another verse where Allah Azza wa Jalla talks to the believers and tells them that you believe, obey Allah, obey the Prophet ﷺ, and those who take charge of you, who are in charge. And this is an Islamic aspect, that you obey those who are in charge as long as they are obeying Allah and the Prophet ﷺ. If they instruct us to do something that was wrong or against Islam, it is forbidden for us to obey them. And as an example, if you recall Abdullah ibn Hudhafa, when he was appointed once to be the leader of a Muslim expedition, and the Prophet ﷺ instructed them to obey him. And he was a man of humor. He loved to joke a lot.
He was a funny man.
Funny is something when someone is doing funny things. But he is not in the sense of that he was a funny person. He liked humor, practical jokes. So he went with his people, and once he was irritated, he wanted something, they did not want to give it to him, so they built a fire, a big fire, and it was very cold, and he ordered them to go inside the fire. And they were hesitant because who would kill himself? So they didn't know what to do, but then they agreed not to go into fire, and he told them that I was just joking with you. When they went back to the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet told them that had you entered that fire, you would have never left it, in the sense that you would have stayed in hell, because you have disobeyed Allah by obeying this leader in something that is forbidden. I believe we have a short break. Stay tuned, and inshallah we will be back.
Reviewing the second rule of al-mim as-sakina. That is the letter mim. So if the first mim is non-vowel or sakina, followed by a voweled mim, so I will merge the first in the letter and I will pronounce them as one. وَآمَنَهُمْ مِنْ. And we spoke abundantly on the virtues of seeking refuge with Allah from the outcast Satan. Especially for the first reciter, he's got to recite it out loud.
وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الْبُرُوجِ.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
فإذا جاءت الصاخة.
وَإِذَا النُّفُوسُ زُوِّجَتْ.
Make sure it's Dhamma. وَإِذَا النُّفُوسُ. Thank you for joining us.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and welcome back. With the grace of Allah, the military expedition of Amr ibn al-As, along with the 500 companions of the Prophet ﷺ, succeeded in their mission, and they went back to Medina. as they were going back to Medina in one cold night, Amr ibn al-As, who also being an Amir, meant that he leads the prayer of the Muslims, though he had Abu Bakr, Umar, and Abu Ubaidah, Amir al-Jarrah behind him, yet this is the Islamic principle. Whoever is appointed to be the leader of people, he leads the prayer. And by the way, this is an Islamic concept, that no threesome or more traveling, they should appoint someone to be their leader. And the Prophet ﷺ also instructed us that this leader is the one to lead the prayer, and he is to organize the group that is with him, and they should also follow and obey him as long as he's not instructing them to do anything wrong. On that night, that cold night, Amr ibn al-As, may Allah be pleased with him, woke up in the state of sexual impurity. So he had to pray Fajr, but he did not have the ability. He had water, but he did not have the ability to perform total bath. It was so cold. So he performed dry ablution, or what is known as tayammum. And he led the prayer. Of course, all those who were behind him they performed ablution. And some of them did not like what they saw. So when they went back to the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet smiled and asked Amr, "Why did you do this?" He said, "Well, Prophet of Allah, I remembered the verses of the Quran where Allah tells us, do not kill yourselves. So I thought that if I take the bath, I'm going to die, because it was so cold. So I performed the dry ablution, and the Prophet ﷺ agreed to that, which also indicates to us that it's okay for a person to perform dry ablution and lead in prayer those who have performed the normal ablution with water.
Does it indicate us as well that Islam generally is easy to practice and apply, and came to protect our lives as well?
Of course, Islam always puts in consideration the welfare of the individual. And there's an incident where a man was in a military expedition and he got a severe blow to his head. So he was injured. And unfortunately, he also had the sexual impurity due to nocturnal emission. He asked his companions, "What should I do? If I perform the total bath with water, this might affect the wound." And they told him that you have to. It's a must. You have to perform a total bath, take a total bath, so that you can pray. So he did, and he died as a consequence. And when the Prophet ﷺ knew about this, he was very angry. And he said, "They killed him. May Allah kill them." Had they not asked if they did not know? Why? The treatment of ignorance is asking. So if you did not know the verdict, say, "I do not know." But when you give the wrong verdict, then you take the responsibility of whatever wrongdoing happens or occurs due to your wrong verdict.
So if I give an advice or a verdict, and then as a consequence of that, something wrong happened to the person whom I gave that verdict to, that means I'm responsible of the consequence which happened to him.
Yes, you take the burden, and it's your fault. For example, if someone in Hajj asks someone who he thinks that he is knowledgeable and tells him, "Do I have to do this?" Something that is obligatory in Hajj. And if he doesn't do it, he has to compensate it by slaughtering a sheep. And the man who did not have the knowledge, yet people thought he had the knowledge, says, "Yes, you don't have to do that. You do not have to do what you just asked." And the man doesn't and leaves. The burden falls on this whom he gave the wrong fatwa. And that is why Imam Malik ibn Anas, may Allah be pleased with him and have mercy on his soul, once was approached by a man who traveled for a whole month from Khurasan and came to Medina. And he asked him about 40 questions. And he answered only 4. And the remaining 36, he said, I do not know. I do not know. So the man, after finishing, he told him, you are the head of the scholars in Medina. And I came through a journey of 1 month to you. What should I go and back to my people and tell them? So Malik told him, tell them that Malik does not know. So what's the big point? The issue is, if you do not have knowledge, say you don't know. And it's said in scholars always have this saying, whoever says I do not know, then he had possessed half of knowledge. When you say I do not know.
What if I have a doubt in my heart about a verdict and I believe that it could be wrong? Then I found one or more from the scholars which they say it's allowed or permissible to do so. So I'm allowed to say, okay, they will take the responsibility upon that verdict, and I go for that even if I believe in my heart that it could be wrong?
No, this is completely a different story. And it's not related to this issue, because if you hear a scholar giving a verdict on a particular issue, it's not lawful for you to follow him and then follow another scholar in another issue and follow a third scholar in a third issue, because then you would be picking what suits your own desire. But we're talking here about giving the verdict on a particular issue. If you have the right tools and the proper knowledge, then you give the verdict. If you do not know, then you should say, I do not know. If you are reporting, if you are copying and imitating a scholar, then you should say that this is the fatwa or the verdict of the scholar, not of your own self. And this is what Amr ibn al-As did. He behaved and performed what his knowledge allowed him to do. And that is, if you are in fear of dying, then you perform the dry ablution. And this is exactly what the Prophet said ﷺ, to those who gave the wrong fatwa. If you did not know, then your cure was asking. But because you gave the wrong fatwa, then you should, and you take the burden of the man who died. Now, everything was settled, alhamdulillah, in Medina. And yes?
Sorry for going out of that focus, but due to what we have seen in the last 2 battles, the Battle of Mu'tah and the battles that followed, what is the reason behind changing the leaders of the military of Muslims?
That's a very good question. The Prophet ﷺ did not put all the focus on a particular leader, because after the success of Khalid ibn Walid, it would have been imagined that we should always use Khalid ibn Walid in every detachment or military expedition. The Prophet did not do this ﷺ, and Allah knows best, simply because he wanted to give all of his companions the chance to train and to lead. It was also a form of testing them, so that he would know that how would they behave in times of crisis, and how what choices they would make, whether it's right or wrong. So it was form of training, and also form of giving the honor of leadership to those who were capable of leading. Okay. See, the Prophet ﷺ did not give these positions to people because of their relation to him.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he would have always sent Ali ibn Abi Talib, because he was the closest among the companions. Though he was a good, an excellent, an experienced fighter, he did not send them except in 1 or 2. But he always sent Zayd ibn Haritha, he sent Abdullah ibn Rawaha, he sent Hamza, may Allah be pleased with him. He sent those who were known to be strong and experienced leaders to get more and more experience.
But how could the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam be sure that what happened or what could be happened with the other leader could be happened with the son? What could be achieved with the past leader should be achieved with the next one?
Well, the Prophet ﷺ does not know the unseen.
Yeah.
So he had a way of looking at people and understanding their character. And that is why he always hoped for the best. So he chose a leader, he put him on a detachment, and he instructs him to follow his instructions. Alhamdulillah, it's all proved to be well. Now, the Prophet ﷺ, as everything seemed to be calm and peaceful, again came to know a disturbing fact. And this fact is, as you recall, in the truce of Hudaybiyah, the Prophet ﷺ, one of the items that he agreed to with the polytheists of Quraysh was that whoever wants to enter in allegiance with one of the two parties can do so. So the tribe of Khuza'ah immediately went into the alliance of the Prophet ﷺ and the Muslims. And the tribe of Banu Bakr went to the alliance of Quraysh. So it was made as an agreement that whoever attacks any of these tribes is considered to be attacking the tribe that, or the party that this tribe is in alliance with. And this was fortunate for Khuza'ah and for Banu Bakr, because Banu Bakr, because of the long time feud between the two tribes, Banu Bakr thought that this was the right time to avenge the dead and to attack Khuza'ah just when the time was right. And I'm afraid that this is all the time we have for today's program. Insha'Allah, when we meet next time, we will elaborate a little bit more on this issue. But until then, fi amanillah, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Mm-hmm.